What's going on, YouTube? This is BoxingWave, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Okay, hit that subscribe button. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BoxingWave10. So before we discuss this upcoming weekend's fights, let's go back and discuss Shakur Stevenson and Chris Colbert, who both picked up wins over the weekend. They both fight at 130. Shakur Stevenson headline in the or ESPN, and ESPN really got to get it together. Where a lot of fans are complaining about the ESPN Plus and regular ESPN. The pre-fights, once again, just like the Terrence Crawford card, the pre-fights was on ESPN Plus. The main fights were on regular ESPN. Okay, I think they need to find a way to have one full, or have some kind of subscription plan where people can watch both. Not a lot of people have cable, so they want to be able to watch the main fights on some kind of subscription service. I think it's just too confusing, too complicated. A lot of people are paying for the ESPN Plus subscription thinking that they are going to get the full card, and they don't get it. All right. So they need to fix that situation. I do understand why they're doing it that way. I do, and I don't want to go through the whole breakdown of that. But they need to, for boxing fans, it's really, really tough for boxing fans, all right? Because everything is split into two. And a lot of people, you basically would have to have two different ESPN plans in order to watch these fights, all right? Which is kind of ridiculous. But anyway, Shakur Stevenson, to start out with him, he fought Toka Khan Clary. Not a top fighter at 130, okay? Slick fighter, moves well, good speed, good counterpuncher. But Shakur Stevenson has proven, even at 126, even as an amateur, he's way above guys this level. Now I understand why the fight is happening. It's a stay busy fight. Shakur Stevenson was one of the first fighters to come back and fight after the whole pandemic began. Okay, so he's just being active, which is fine. But the thing is, with Shakur Stevenson, he's already in position to fight for a title in two different divisions two different sanctioning bodies in that division. Okay, he is already next in line for a title shot against the winner of Carl Frampton and Jamal Herring. All right, and that's for the WBO title. And he's already in line, too, to fight the winner of Burchell and Oscar Valdez in that division, the WBC. I keep saying division. That's sanctioning body, the WBC. All right, so he's already in position to fight for a title. He's just got to wait for the winner of those two titles. All right, and he was vocal about that after the fight. I was always kind of unsure whether or not he would fight Jamal Herring. Obviously, if he is to get a chance to fight Oscar Valdez, or the winner of Oscar Valdez and Miguel Burchell, he would probably go that route to avoid fighting Jamal Herring because they're friends, they're part of the same camp. But I'm glad that he was vocal in saying that he would fight the winner of that, because we want to see the fights. At the end of the day, this is legacy. And, if the guy that's holding the title is a friend of yours, this is what happens. Sometimes it's just part of boxing, Not everybody wants to fight each other, but you got to do what you got to do, to become great. We recently had this was happening in the welterweight division a little bit with Keith Thurman and Sean Porter first, because those two were friends at one point. And the same with Sean Porter and Errol Spence. Sean Porter was kind of playing the friend thing, and was trying to kind of avoid Spence. But Spence started being very vocal, like, no, I want to fight Sean Porter, and eventually we got that fight. All right, so good win for Stevenson. He's proven again that he is one of the most defensively gifted fighters out there. Very defensive. I think we don't give his offense credit because he's really able to do it all. He's really quick. He throws great combinations, has great setups, great punch variations in his jab and everything else. Goes to the body well. He counters well. He does everything well. He's sharp at every single thing. He has all the tools any complete fighter would need. Okay. The only thing, if I'm gonna nitpick, the only thing is he can't switch from righty to lefty like a Chris Colbert can. Okay, or like a Terrence Bud Crawford can. But he doesn't have to. He doesn't always. Not every fighter is gonna have that. That's me being just nitpicking. But the major flaw that he has is that he doesn't have the power yet to put these guys away. He doesn't really have it, and guys like Clary, a fighter that he was able to dominate, he wasn't able to put him away, and when he fights the elite fighters at 130 or at 135, I think as far as pure talent, I think he's better than just about all of them already. I said this the other night when I was doing live commentary. Shout out to anyone that was here on the live commentary, all right? I was really, really tired. I had covered the entire Anthony Joshua card, which was 6 hours. And then I went on to do Showtime at ESPN. So I was very tired for the last 2 cards. But again, I was saying that night, Shakur Stevenson is the truth. He is extremely talented, but the lack of power is not really a weakness. I wouldn't call it a weakness because maybe he doesn't punch that hard, but he punches hard enough for his opponents to respect his power. But at the same time, you would think he would stop someone like Clary, stop someone at that level. Chris Colbert had a greater challenge in his fight, and it was a better fight. It was more entertaining. Let me say it was a more entertaining fight. And Chris Colbert in his fight was able to display a whole lot in that fight. He showed us how great his defense is, his reflexes, his counterpunching ability, but he also showed us that night that he can crack. If he chooses to, he could. Now, if you're not familiar with Chris Colbert, he's been, he was a good amateur here in New York. A lot of people know him here in New York. A lot of people, he goes by Prime Time now. A lot of people from New York know him as Lil B-Hop. All right. He doesn't really go by that name anymore. But that was what that was his old nickname. But Prime Time, very good boxer. Again, another guy that has all the tools, and he's a switch hitter. All right. And you know what? He's very comfortable fighting as a righty, a lefty. He can do it all. He can really do it all. But this fight will make him look like he's some kind of KO artist, and he's not that. So if you're watching him for the first time here, you might think he's some kind of big explosive puncher. He's not. Yes, he got the knockout. And yes, he got the knockout over a better opponent in Jaime Arboleda. I keep forgetting his name. Arboleda. More dangerous fighter here. Taller, stronger. He was decent hand speed. I mean, the dude could crack. He's a KO guy. He's a puncher. Throws good combination. Front foot heavy guy. Came there to fight. Much more dangerous than Shakur Stevenson's opponent that night. Okay? But it was a better performance for Colbert because of who he was facing. It was a tougher challenge. If Arboleda were to fight Clary, I would expect Arboleda to stop Clary. All right? Now, Arboleda is nowhere near, obviously he's nowhere near Colbert's level. He's nowhere near Shakur Stevenson's level. All right? But it was a great opponent to showcase your talent. You showed your boxing ability, your skill set, your technical ability, and you were able to show that you can knock someone out, and it's great. But if you look at Colbert's other fights, even the fights earlier this year against Corrales, I saw that fight against Corrales, and that's not a fight that I would show to people if I'm gonna, I'm trying to tell people or bring or trying to, I guess, introduce Chris Colbert to people. That's not the fight that I'm going to show them because it was kind of a snooze fest. He's fighting another quick, crafty, slick fighter. that had good hand speed, got good defense, good counters as well. Colbert won, and he won clearly, but there was no knockout in there. It wasn't no heavy. He was relying more on speed and countering in that fight. And that's what, not every fight is going to be like that. But, for the people that says Shakur Stevenson was boring, well, he's boring because he didn't fight a real challenger, someone on his level. So that's why it was boring. And plus, Shakur just couldn't put him away. All right. But if you watch Chris Colbert and you watch other fights of his, you might say the same thing about him, depending on the opponent. And that's the point that I'm trying to make, because I already see that people are trying to compare the two. And I don't think that it's nothing wrong with comparing the two, as the two fighters are in the same division. They're around it. They're roughly the same age. And they're both very, very technical boxers. All right. So I think it's fair to compare them two, but don't compare them just solely on their performances on Saturday night. That's unfair to do because of who they face. All right. But Colbert is the interim challenger, or the interim WBA champion. And I don't know what's the deal with him possibly fighting Tank in the future. I brought this up the other day on my live commentary that I did. The WBA is very complicated because they have a super champion who is Tank Davis, all right, who just won against Leo Santa Cruz. But then you have like a world champion, you have like a gold champion, and then you have Chris Colbert, who is the interim champion. Now, I would love for him to fight Tank Davis. I would love it. Does he have to fight him now? No. Is he completely ready? I mean, I personally think he is, but his resume doesn't state that. Like, on paper, he's not. On paper, he's definitely not ready to fight Tank Davis. Now, judging on his skill set and what I see, what I know he can bring, what I've seen he can bring, I would love to see that fight. Shoot, I would love to see Chris Colbert fight Shakur Stevenson. I would love all of these fights. And I know a lot of these guys. I don't know if Prime Time's relationship with Tank. I know Shakur Stevenson is cool with Chris Colbert. A lot of these guys came up around the same time. I mean, you maybe a year or two apart. But regardless, I would love to see all of these fights. But I'm glad that Chris Colbert had that spectacular showing, because more eyes are on him now. But as far as his resume is concerned, yeah, he can still take more fights leading up to that Tank fight. I don't know if he thinks he's ready. I know when he was asked in a press conference who he want next, he just said, you know what? I just want to keep getting fights, PBC fights, Al Heyman fights, and keep making money. That was his response. He didn't say anyone's name. I don't know if there were any additional interviews after the fight, which he, might have brought up other names. But as far as I know, he just says he wants to fight PBC fighters. So we'll have to wait and see. Shakur Stevenson, we just got to wait and see what happens with Oscar Valdez and Miguel Berchelt. We were supposed to get that fight, I think, earlier this month. But one of them backed out. I can't remember if it was Miguel or Oscar Valdez. I think it might have been Miguel Berchelt that had COVID-19. And that's been the case for a lot of fights this year. So it is what it is. But, both fighters performed great. Both fighters performed great. Both fighters look good. And hopefully we can get something from the both of them. Hopefully we already know the route between two. All right. But Chris Colbert, definitely. I'm really, really more happy for him. Not only because he's from New York and I'm biased for him, but he got the knockout and he showed that he can crack when he wants to. But he can't fight that way with everybody. And I forgot to mention, the one complaint I have with Chris Colbert is the showboating. And that's cool. The showboating is fine. Fighters are going to do it. But it was a little too much. And it was annoying. It's a little bit annoying. You know what I'm saying? It was good to see him do it. You saw a little bit of Sweet Pea, Pernell Whitaker doing it. But if you're going to do it, make them pay. But he did, not to bash him too much, because he actually turned the fight. After he did it for a round or two, he went right back to fighting and coming forward. And that's another thing we seen in him in his game too. We see him come forward, walk his opponent down, a bigger guy, the more powerful puncher. We seen him walk his opponent down with the high guard and counter and slip shots. You know, it was a really, really good all around. You saw a little bit of everything. I think the showboating was a little too much, but it wasn't that bad. If it had went to a decision and we got more of it, then it would have been bad. But since he turned it around and fought an aggressive way, more aggressive style after those rounds, it was a good performance. You know what I'm saying? And he was able to get the stoppage. So I think I said everything I had to say with these two. You know, there's a lot of, you know, I'm expecting Chris to still probably build up his resume a little bit more. Hopefully we could get more fights from him this coming year. Hopefully we could get him in the ring like 2-3 times. And congratulations on his new business. I'm definitely going to try to go out there. He has a new chicken shop in Jersey. I definitely want to go out there and check it out. Shakur Stevenson, another good win. Just keep, you know, stay sharp. And, you know, whether it's Oscar Valdez or Miguel Burchell or Jamel Herring, I honestly think Miguel Burchell is the most toughest fight out of all of them. If I'm questionable about any opponent at 130 for Shakur, I think the two toughest opponents for him would be Miguel Burchell and Tank Davis. You know, and I don't see those two fighting anytime soon. But those two are the toughest opponents. I see Stevenson, and with confidence, beating Carl Frampton, beating Jamel Herring, beating Oscar Valdez. Okay, I see him beating these guys right now. Okay, but Tank and Burchell, a little bit more unsure. Burchell because of his experience, his power, his boxing ability as well. He hurts. And you know, Tank, obviously, again, another, his speed, his power, his experience as well. But those are fights that I would love to see, and I think we will see them at some point. All right, so I'm gonna end it at that. I'll see you guys in the next one.